Liberty and Syracuse. We've got Syracuse 6.5, Liberty 6.5 point road favorites. 52.5 the total here in this game. Syracuse off to a 2-1 start, believe it or not, this year, although they played Albany, which was pretty much a walkover game for them last weekend, 62-24. Prior to that, they beat Ohio 29-9. That's not saying much because Ohio is a disgrace this year. It's unbelievable how bad and how much the Ohio Bobcats have fallen in the first year after the Frank Solich era came to an end. But then the Rutgers game, kind of misleading. Yeah, they lost 17-7, but they outgained Rutgers by 63 yards, plus 1.4 yards per play against Rutgers, despite losing that game. I got to say it, Syracuse has kind of done better than I thought they would, and I give them credit for that. Dino Babers, believe it or not, has a halfway decent defense on this Syracuse team. I've been impressed with them on the defensive side of the football. I throw out the Albany result. They gave up 24 points, but so many of those points were late. Garbage time, fourth quarter, and the game was already well in hand at that point. But I look at Syracuse. The defense has been pretty solid for them so far. And now they're giving, because Tommy DeVito is at quarterback, has never been consistent, never been someone you could rely on to say, hey, he's going to get the job done for us. And look, the O-line's been bad for Syracuse the last couple of years. That hasn't helped their offense. They've been one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football the last couple seasons. But in the game against Albany, we saw a lot of Garrett Schrader at quarterback, the Mississippi State transfer. And I think that's a good thing. And it looks like Dino is giving him and kind of splitting the reps during games between him and DeVito. And I think it's right, because I think Schrader's actually, the more you see him, he's making some plays for Syracuse. We'll have to see what Dino Babers is going to do with his quarterback situation here. I'd assume he's going to play both again. You're playing a very good Liberty team. It's a dangerous team. It's not a fluke that you're an underdog at home against Liberty, because Liberty's no joke. Liberty is one of the best group of 5 teams in the country this year. And I think if you're Syracuse, you maybe want to have that two quarterback system going here to maybe try to throw this Liberty team off balance a little bit, and maybe throw, a couple of different wrinkles at them defensively, because they are a pretty good defensive football team. The question right now is for this Syracuse team, when you look at it, are you getting value with Liberty? Going into this game is the question, because there were some people coming into the year that they expected Syracuse to still be favored slightly in this game at home, believe it or not. Syracuse is a slight home favorite in some people's preseason projected lines for this game. And now we see Liberty playing the way they have to this point. They've been obviously very impressive. Nobody's denying that. Malik Willis, an outstanding dual threat quarterback. They are 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread this year. They beat up Campbell. They have a good, solid road win against Troy, where they outgained them by over 100 yards. Troy's a solid team. They beat them by 8 on the road. And then, of course, they whipped Old Dominion 45-17. I understand Liberty's very good, but boy, I just don't, and I lean Liberty here, but man, I just don't know if the number's right. I don't know if the value's there. We were talking on a Friday night in Syracuse with a defense that's actually been pretty serviceable so far. You got to lay 6 here with this Liberty team, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do that just yet in this game. So this is probably a game I'm not going to have a bet on pregame. We'll see how it starts out. Maybe we'll find an in-game opportunity, but I like Liberty a lot. I want to back them in this game. But when you've got projected lines before the season that had Syracuse around a 1-2 home favorite in this game, now you're seeing them a 6.5 point home underdog. That's a significant and steep adjustment. And now the question becomes, is it too much of an adjustment to how good this Liberty team is? And let's not forget, Syracuse's defense has been pretty solid in the first 3 games, and it's held them in some of these games. So food for thought before this game takes place, that if Syracuse's defense is as good as it's looked in the first 3 games, it may not be easy for Liberty to go on the road and win this game by at least a touchdown, which they're going to need to cash a ticket. What do you think here, Conor Mack? It's an interesting game, Liberty and Syracuse.
Yeah, I remember this game last year. Liberty, beat them pretty good, 38-21. But Syracuse is better. They're healthier. I think their defense is better. Initially, when I looked at this game, I wanted the under. It's gotten pounded, obviously. But I'd still lean under a little bit. Yeah, I think Liberty's a better team. they have Malik Willis, but can they, not only win but cover on the road? I'm not so sure. I lean Liberty, especially when you have the better quarterback here, and I think they're the slightly better team all the way around. But I don't know if I'll get to the window here with this one.
One thing to keep in mind, covering as favorites has not been an issue for Liberty. 8-0 against the spread.
Hey,
their last 8 as
they
favorites.
did it last week, by 1 point. They did it Troy. They've been covering, so if you've been taking them,
on the road at
stop?
Troy. Yeah, exactly. And here's the great debate here. And and last year, by the way, don't automatically assume that last year Liberty beats them 38-21 Syracuse. Syracuse was a shit show last year. They had quarterback injuries. They were injury depleted all over the football team. Defense, offensive line was in shambles. You're right. They're a healthier team. I think their defense is pretty solid this year. It's can they score enough points? And they're gonna hang in there maybe defensively, but they're not shutting down this Liberty offense completely under Malik Willis. They are at some point going to have to put up some points. The question is, will they be able to do that consistently here in this game against Liberty's own defense, which is pretty good themselves? I mean, they went on the road against, I think, a Troy Trojans team that's improved this year, that's got, I think, solid group on both sides of the ball. Taylor Powell, the quarterback. They went on the road to Liberty and held them to 13 points. And that defense for Liberty looks really good through the first 3 weeks of the year. So that's why that if you're Liberty, Syracuse defense might be able to hang in there for a while. But I think at some point there might be, because Liberty's own defense has been good and it's still an offensively compromised Syracuse team, that Liberty still might be able to extend this margin at some point and maybe get this margin up to a touchdown or more. So, yes, I definitely lean Liberty. Haven't pulled the trigger yet. Not sure I will. Grant, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Liberty, fun team to watch. Feel good college story, smaller school, with a hell of an athlete at quarterback in Malik Willis. You guys have talked about it. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns. The kid can play football. We don't know necessarily at what level in terms of, when you get into higher competition. Is Syracuse higher competition? Defensively, maybe. This will be the best defense he's faced this season. Syracuse only giving up 16 points a game. Now they did just play Albany, and like you said, those trash points late. I thought it was a good performance from Syracuse. As I look at the game, I always have a hard time betting on teams or looking at teams when there's QB question marks, and they're going to play 2 QBs. I believe you're right, and they're going to at least start with 2 QBs and see where this thing goes. That could be totally wrong. They could pick one throughout the week, but the way the game played last week and the reps just made sense to me, or makes sense to me that they will do some type of split. The under, what was the under? Is it 54?
The total in this game is 52.5 right now. Yeah.
So it's been okay. Yeah. So that's a little scary to me, but at the same time, I think this could be an under game. It'll be a fun game for me to watch. I'm staying away from it. But if you haven't seen Liberty and this Malik Willis kid, that's a good one, and he'll be tested against that Syracuse defense. Like I said, 2 quarterbacks kind of scares me away from it. I could see it being a low-scoring game. And I could see it being actually quite a fun game to watch. I haven't said that about a Syracuse football game in God knows how long, but this one could be fun to watch.
Sure?
I'll stay away. Yeah, I mean, this could be a good football game. See if Malik Willis can make some plays. I believe he can. Let's tune in on Friday night and check it out.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what is Babers going to do from a tempo standpoint? Because in the first couple of games against Ohio and Rutgers, they slowed the thing down. They were not going that up-tempo Syracuse offense, extreme tempo, which he's been known for going back to when he was head coach at Bowling Green. That's been the offense. It's been up-tempo. It's snapped the football as quickly as possible. He got away from that against Ohio and Rutgers because he knows this offense it's a major work in progress. You got quarterback concerns. The O-line was terrible last year. You're trying to develop it. They did pick up the pace last week, but they did so against Albany because they knew they'd outman Albany. They'd be able to overpower them in that game. But now that you're playing a very good Liberty team, are you in a situation now where you're going to be able to, speed it up again and have success that way? So that's what I'm going to look at. In terms of the total, I wouldn't bet it until I read something during the course of the week from the head coach, and I'm going to look for it. How are you going to play it offensively? Are you going to revert? Because they went back to up tempo last week a little bit against Albany. Are you going to keep it that way? Or are you going to slow it down again like you did against Ohio and Rutgers, your two tougher opponents? So that's going to be a big question mark going into this game. How does he play it from a pace standpoint, Dino Babers, in terms of this offense going into Friday night against Liberty? All right, we've lost Conor for a second, but we'll keep it going.
Can I make
UNLV,
a quick point on that, Ian?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Just wanted to say, just for I've talked a little bit about my growth as a gambler and things like that, and Ian mentioned something there about how he's going to look at that throughout the week. What the coach says. I've gotten so into that, especially with football midweek. What is the coach saying? Not as what ESPN's quoting him as. What is somebody on YouTube saying about him? Listen to the coaches. Go to the local papers online. It's easy to access. And I found that you can really get some good insider information that's not hard to get anymore. You just got to search things up online and go to those local papers and get those local interviewers. Sometimes you can get a little golden nugget there. So that will be definitely something I'm looking at is, what the coaches are saying this week.